social media was crazy during, I think, this whole year. It was like everyone was on it. You know, there was always news, basically. So did you find it a negative thing or a positive thing personally, or how did you use it basically during this whole year, and how did you find it?
For me personally, I've always been like a social media person. So like I've tried to like subscribe to this thing where it's like, oh, if you don't use social media, you're going to be more productive and all that. And it just, for me personally, like I find myself that when I use social media, I'm actually a bit more productive. Because like, first of all, I see what other people are doing. I'm just like, oh yeah, like I need to be doing something. Or sometimes I'll see what someone else is doing and learn from them. Or I'll be inspired by them, motivated by them to do something. Or I'll just learn a new skill online. Or something I didn't know. Even if it's like, for example, I've got some internships and stuff by just being online quite a bit. So I'm a quite social media person. I think in terms of this year, I think like everyone's going to say there's negatives and positives. And I think for me, anyway, I'm a quite optimist person. So I'll look at the positives. And I think there were loads of positives. It told me that like, if people decide that they want to follow a trend and a cause, they will do it. And I think we saw that from around the middle of lockdown quarantine, the Black Lives Matter, all the way up until now, like we saw the Uyghur Muslims, we saw it with Congo, like what's happening in Congo, we saw it with NSARS, and now it's happening with like everything that's happening in India and the farmers. And it's the thing where it's like whenever people see an issue, like a global issue, it doesn't have to be global, it can be a national one as well. People like, okay, fair enough, people might jump on the bandwagon, but then people are going to like do something about it, whether that's protesting, whether that's like signing petitions, whether that's, you know, spreading awareness about it. There's so many things that people do in their own little ways that they can do to like support a cause. And I think that's one thing that we've seen on social media this year. Another thing I've seen is a lot of people are, and I think this is just like I think this is rather more to do with the digital revolution and technology rather than just lockdown. But I think lockdown's been like a catalyst of this, and people like talking more about their lives, being more transparent. So I think it's something that we even see a lot on, like, if you guys use the platform LinkedIn, a lot of people talk about like their successes. I got this internship, I got this job, I got this work experience, etc. But I think we saw a lot of, hey guys, like this is actually in my life, like this is actually what's happening behind the scenes. I think seeing a lot of that, it shows people that like social media it's almost like a bit of a facade. You don't see like people like to glamorize their life essentially on social media. And I think one thing that we did see was that people kind of trying to not show so much of the glamour, show so much of the real raw reality of what they're going through. And I think I saw a lot of that, like a lot of transparency posts, a lot of like inside my life, behind the scenes. I think seeing that makes you realize that like, oh, like I'm even like privileged, and it makes you grateful for the stuff that you have, that realizing that as much as someone is like maybe posting like new clothes, new shoes every day, like they're having like a domestic issue at home. And then when they talk about it, you're just like, oh, like I don't have this issue. I might not have the clothes and stuff that they have, but I'm not going through this issue. And it just makes you kind of a bit grateful. It just kind of makes you realize that, you know, life is not as beautiful as some people make it seem. But I think, yeah, social media done its part this lockdown and quarantine. I think it will continue to do so.
Do you feel like people have people have done their own research in terms of finding news? So, for example, for me anyway, it seemed like people are now starting to really research, you know, different areas of the world and finding out what's happening there, like on a global scale rather than on a national scale. Because usually, for me anyway, my news feed would be updated with like what's happening in London or Edinburgh or you know, like here and there little global bits, but not as much. Whereas in COVID, I've seen a lot of like global news basically, and the society problems there and stuff. Do you think that's because of people researching it for themselves, or do you think that's just because the news are trying to incorporate global stuff because people are home? And do you know what I mean, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I was gonna say, agreeing with James, that I think social media has made the world a very small, like not small, but it's made it a smaller place. And the reason why things that are socially driven, like, you know, especially for our generation, you know, Gen Z, millennials, the younger generation, I think we are using social media to drive change because we're now able to see the issues that are happening at someone else's doorstep, which people who are parents would only have known if they opened the newspaper or watched it on TV, or might not have known if it was never reported to the news. So, you know what I mean? So it's like, by social media being there, you know, we're able to essentially see the similarities in our situations with other people, and understand that you might be across an ocean, but you know, these are issues that are going there, and I can relate, or I can empathize. But I think at the same time, I think social media has allowed people to kind of like have a lens into other people's lives, which I don't think is quite normal. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think it's normal to be sitting on your phone and watching another person live their life whilst you're just sitting on your, you know what I mean? Which obviously, and it has benefits if you're using it for inspiration, but it can also, you know, lead to a lot of comparisons, especially the young generation, with women, guys looking at, you know, thinking is your life as good as theirs, thinking you're going to look like someone, be like someone, and it can get a bit unhealthy sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about in moderation. For example, with me, I literally schedule in social media breaks. I have one. I'm starting one today that ends in 2 weeks' time, and it's just great, because I think in life, as long as you do things like moderation, I think it works well. So I'll literally take sometimes a month, 4 weeks. After maybe a busy period, I've done a lot of stuff. I use social media for my business. I think social media is great for businesses. You know what I mean? I use it for my business a lot. I use it to share things. Once I've done that, or, you know, I'm starting to see like I'm like, it's driving me too much in terms of I'm looking at my phone too much, and it's affecting the way I operate too much. I have a break scheduled in, and I can just kind of like not depend on it, because I think it's important to not be able to depend on it. And then that allows me to just actually have conversations, not having to think about when I go somewhere, taking a picture of it, sharing it. Like before that, people were going places. Our parents were going places before that. You know what I mean, like things were happening, and you'd only hear about it if you was there, or if you knew about it. But nowadays, you can know. Yeah, you can be at places with people by just watching them snap the whole thing or video the whole thing. But so I say yes. I think it's great for social drive awareness. I think, like in terms of issues, and we've seen it being used to bring awareness to people who may never have known, because they'll never come across these people, because, you know, they're in a completely different part of the world. But I think in moderation, especially in terms of like your personal life, I think in moderation is important.
I completely agree with that, actually. I think having boundaries in place for yourself is so important, because like you can get like so caught up in it and like other people's lives, and like there are aspects of social media that are quite negative, and like you're saying, having breaks, but also like really paying attention to who it is that you're following and how they're making you feel. So if you're like constantly comparing and like just feeling rubbish when you see them posting, then like it's your decision to unfollow them. Like I think it's down to the consumer to really try and like take control over it, because I think sometimes we can let it take control of our lives, which isn't always good. But like in terms of the positives, I think it's been really good for connecting this year. I know like I do a podcast, and I've had loads of guests on that who I've connected with over Instagram, and like I think there are positives, but again just having those boundaries in place for yourself, so it doesn't become energy draining. You're not just like scrolling aimlessly for no reason. I think that's what's important.
Definitely. I think it's true. I think what you follow is obviously that's your choice, and it has a massive impact on, I think, you as yourself. I've noticed that when I was on my feed, I follow a lot of like these bait Instagram accounts, and you know, they have these quotes and memes and stuff that can kind of you know, touch your heart sometimes and make you feel a bit insecure, and you're like, rah, like I am a bit like that. But you know, and then you see the comments that are connected with that, and some can be negative, you know, but it's things like that. And I think, you know, you have to be like you said, you have to have boundaries with yourself, with your relationship with your phone, because it can just spiral into decline sometimes. And you know that a lot of people have had a lot of mental health issues during this whole lockdown that you know, that I know. And it's crazy how a device can make a human turn into this thing. It's like we're a robot. But you know, thank you guys for speaking upon these vital matters and giving your opinions and advice and tips and stuff, because I feel like there's an audience out there that needs to hear these things, you know, particularly those who don't have a role model to look up to, or you know, things like that. So definitely thank you so much. If you want to shout out any of your businesses or your social media accounts that connect you to these great opportunities, go for it.
Everyone shy. Firstly, I should say well done. Thank you, Jasmine, for hosting. You was a great host. So thank you for hosting this conversation. Good job. But yeah, and also massive thank you to the guests as well, Kristi and James, you as well. Honestly, love your opinions, and I think I'm gonna see you guys on Forbes very soon. So I have no doubt about that. But my Instagram is @CEO Sam. If you guys want to follow me, that's my personal page. That's my business profile page. Instagram, Twitter, @CEO Sam. And my platform I was talking about is called @Worth of Mouth. So worth as in like the value of something. So @Worth of Mouth. And that's for like positive content for young people, career opportunities for young people. And just kind of a breath of fresh air, you know, amongst the, you know, saying about why social media is important. We're kind of using that for positivity. So yeah.
I want to say thank you to Ahead of Time Academy. Thank you to Zach Fortag for actually inviting me here. And thank you to Jasmine for being such a great host, and Sam and Kristi for being amazing guests as well. My Instagram handle is @JamesAppiah. And then my Instagram for my business that I co-run is @BlackHappyPartners. And we just literally share finance news, finance tips, finance motivations, just to help people increase their financial literacy overall. But yeah.
I'm going to echo that and just say, like, yeah, once again, thank you to everybody as well. And thank you to anyone who's listening to this, actually, taking the time to listen to it. But yeah, my Instagram's Kristi Bergman Coaching. So Kristi's spelled with a K, and Bergman's Bergman. It's a bit of a funny spelling. And yeah, similar to Samuel, so lots of positive content. Lots of real content as well. I show up on my stories quite a lot, just being authentic, sharing my thoughts as well. And yeah, my website is kristibergman.com as well, if people are interested in figuring out a little bit more about what I do through my coaching as well.
Thank you so much, guys. Just quickly before we all leave, I just need to shout out Ahead of Time Academy. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk with amazing guests and talking about really important topics that I feel that really need to be touched upon. So make sure you subscribe to their channel, and next week tune in for our next discussion.